the alien princess protected a human and challenged her entire world. The wind of Urindor whipped around her, carrying the scent of ozone and the faint hum of the floating crystal forests below. From up here, the world looked endless and fragile, a glittering wonder suspended in the pale pink sky. She had grown up being told that humans were weak, fragile creatures from a distant, insignificant planet. Yet something in her chest stirred, a curiosity she could not name. The sudden sound of a streaking engine broke her reverie. A metallic flash zipped across the horizon and disappeared behind the floating ridges of crystal. Liara's heart leapt. That sound, that movement, it was not like anything from Urindor. She narrowed her eyes and focused on the smoke curling upward in the distance. Something had fallen, something alive. Without hesitation, she activated the small, hovering platform beneath her, letting it glide silently down the cliffside. The platform followed the crystalline valleys, twisting around jagged peaks, until it came to rest near the source of the smoke. Liara's breath caught in her throat. A human ship, barely larger than a carriage, was lodged awkwardly among the crystals. Sparks hissed from its damaged hull and faint smoke rose from the cracked metal. And then she saw him. He was human, lean but sturdy, with dark hair matted from the crash. His uniform was torn and singed in places, but he moved, coughing and gasping for air. He was attempting to crawl toward the ship's remaining control panel, but the jagged crystals tore at his hands and knees. Liara's mind raced. Her advisors would be horrified if they knew a human was even here. Humans were forbidden, considered a weak species not worthy of interaction, let alone royal attention. Yet, as she watched him struggle, a surge of something unexplainable pushed her forward. She landed lightly on the crystal path, her boots making barely a sound, and crouched near him. "Are you hurt?" she asked softly, unsure if he could even understand her. He looked up, blinking, eyes wide and unsteady. His voice was rough but clear. I don't know." "Ship's broken. Need help." Liara hesitated only a moment before extending a hand. He looked at it, startled, and then slowly allowed her to lift him. His weight was heavier than she expected, but manageable. Carefully, she carried him to a safer spot behind a cluster of jagged crystal spires. The sunlight reflected in tiny rainbows across his skin, and Liara found herself marveling at how resilient he seemed, even after such a violent crash. "Who are you?" she asked, keeping her voice low. Alex Kane," he said, voice raspy. "Captain, Earth mission." Liara's eyebrows shot up. Earth. A world she had only heard of in passing, spoken of as insignificant and primitive. Yet here was proof, a human, alive and resourceful, surviving the crash of a spacecraft in a world far more dangerous than his own. "You're far from home," she said gently. He managed a tired smile. "You could say that." Liara's instincts screamed at her to return him to her palace immediately, to follow protocol, but something stronger kept her rooted. This human, fragile and different, had survived the impossible. He had struggled, fought, and not given up. That strength, human strength, was remarkable. She would not hand him over to the council. She lifted him again and moved silently through the crystal forests, choosing a hidden hollow known only to her. The crystals hummed softly underfoot, resonating with the life of Urindor itself. Here, she set him down carefully on a bed of soft moss and used a small medkit she carried for emergencies to tend to his injuries. Alex watched her, bewildered. "You helping me?" Liara nodded, brushing a strand of her hair behind her ear. "Yes, you're hurt and you don't belong out here alone. I cannot leave you." He studied her for a long moment, then let out a soft chuckle despite the pain. "Most people would just watch, not help." Liara's heart fluttered. "You are not like most people," she said. Over the next few hours, Liara worked to stabilize his condition. She set up a temporary shelter using translucent crystal shards, fashioned a small water collector, and even managed to repair a few of the ship's damaged circuits with her basic tools. Alex watched with fascination, asking questions about her world, the floating forests and the humming crystals. Liara found herself explaining eagerly, proud of her knowledge, and amazed at how curious he was, even in his weakened state. "What's it like here?" Alex asked, eyes bright despite the discomfort. "Flying islands, floating crystals, it's incredible, nothing like Earth," Liara smiled. "It is beautiful but dangerous. Many have fallen trying to traverse these lands." She paused. "Yet you survived." Alex shrugged, though his smile was faint. "I don't really know how. Guess I just don't give up." Liara considered that. Humans were fragile, yes, but their tenacity, their unwillingness to quit, was extraordinary. She could see why some of her distant ancestors had speculated that humans might one day challenge the universe. And perhaps it was happening now. Her thoughts were interrupted by a sudden shimmer in the forest. Patrol drones, hovering and silent, scanned the area. Liara's chest tightened. They could not see him, not yet. She grabbed Alex, whispering urgently, "We must move, they cannot find you." Alex followed her without question. As they slipped through the crystals, Liara realized how little she truly knew about humans, and yet how much she wanted to protect this one. She had defied every lesson she had been taught. Humans were weak, insignificant, not to be trusted. And yet here she was, risking her position, her reputation, to save one. By the time they reached a hidden cave beneath a massive crystal waterfall, night had fallen. The soft light of Urindor's twin moons reflected off the walls, painting the space in shades of violet and silver. Alex sat down, exhausted, and looked at her with genuine curiosity. You're not afraid of me?" he asked. Liara shook her head. "I am not afraid of your species. I am curious. You have shown courage where many would have failed." Alex laughed softly, a sound that carried a surprising warmth. "Guess I got lucky, or stubborn, maybe both." Liara smiled, realizing that his luck was only part of it. Humans survived because they adapted, because they refused to quit, because even when the odds were against them, they persisted. This was a lesson her people had never truly understood. "You must rest," Liara said, preparing a small bed for him using soft moss and a few woven crystals. "Tomorrow we will figure out how to fix your ship. For now, sleep. You are safe here." Alex's eyes softened. "Safe thanks to you." Liara felt an unfamiliar warmth in her chest. Perhaps it was pride, perhaps it was admiration, but more than that it was hope. For in protecting him, she sensed she was protecting something greater. The possibility that her world could learn from humans, that the universe could be wider, brighter, and braver than anyone had ever imagined. As Alex drifted into a restless sleep, Liara stood at the mouth of the cave, looking out at the endless horizon. Her advisors would soon demand answers. The council would be furious. The laws of Urindor were clear, but she had made her choice. She would protect this human, and in doing so, challenge everything her world had taught her. Above the floating crystal forests, the twin moons glimmered, reflecting in the waterfalls and casting long shadows across the terrain. Liara whispered to the night, "If anyone can show us a new way, perhaps it is you, Alex Kane. Perhaps it is humans after all." For the first time she felt the weight of destiny, not as a burden, but as a path. One she would walk with this fragile, stubborn, remarkable human by her side. And somewhere deep in the shadows of Urindor, the stars seemed to shimmer a little brighter, as if acknowledging the arrival of something extraordinary. The morning light spilled over the crystal forest, turning the world into a mosaic of sparkling colors. Princess Liara awoke to the soft hum of the crystals, the vibrations carrying through the cave walls like a gentle song. She glanced at Alex, still asleep, his chest rising and falling in steady rhythm. For a human, he seemed far more resilient than she had expected. Even injured and stranded on an alien world, he retained a quiet determination that fascinated her. She rose quietly and stepped outside the cave. The air was cool and crisp, carrying the scents of alien flowers that swayed in the floating breezes. Liara's mind was already racing. The council would demand answers soon. They would never understand why she had hidden a human in the first place. Their laws were strict. No human could set foot on Erendor without permission, and no royal could intervene in their matters. Yet as she looked down at the vast forest below, she could not bring herself to regret her choice. Liara returned to Alex, who had begun to stir. His eyes blinked open slowly, scanning the sparkling cave walls before resting on her. "Good morning," Liara said softly. Alex sat up, wincing slightly. "Morning, guess I slept better than I thought." He flexed his fingers, noting the bruises and scratches from the crash. "Thanks for helping me again." "You're welcome," she replied, offering a small smile. "We need to talk about how we fix your ship, but first, you need to understand a little about this world. Erendor is beautiful, yes, but it is dangerous." Alex nodded. "I'm listening." Liara spent the next few hours showing him the basics of the forest, the floating crystal formations, and the small wildlife that could be curious or cautious. She demonstrated how to move across fragile crystal bridges without breaking them, how to collect water from the condensation pools, and how to read the subtle hums of the crystals to sense danger. Alex followed closely, absorbing every detail, asking questions that revealed his natural curiosity. "What's this humming?" he asked, placing a hand on a small crystal spire. "That's the life of Erendor," Liara explained. "The crystals resonate with energy from the planet. They can guide you, warn you, or even help you if you learn to listen." Alex closed his eyes and concentrated. "It's calming," he said after a moment, smiling faintly. "Almost like it's alive." Liara nodded. "It is alive. And just like any living thing, it can be unforgiving." She glanced at him with a mixture of amusement and concern. Humans often approached new worlds with curiosity, but rarely with the caution that her people instinctively felt. Yet, she admired this human quality. It reminded her that life could be approached with wonder, not fear. After returning to the cave, Liara helped Alex patch the minor damages to his ship. The work was slow, requiring patience and careful handling of unfamiliar materials. Alex adapted quickly, using his knowledge of mechanics and physics to improvise with Erendorian components. Liara watched in admiration as he adjusted circuits and recalibrated energy flows, his hands steady despite fatigue. "You're really good at this," she said quietly. Alex shrugged. "I've had to fix things under worse conditions. Space is not forgiving either." Liara's heart skipped a beat. The idea that humans could endure such hardships and still think clearly was astonishing. Her people often dismissed humans as frail, but Alex was living proof that resilience could take many forms. As they worked, a soft ripple of movement appeared at the edge of the forest. Liara stiffened. Patrol drones. The council would send them soon, curious or suspicious, trying to enforce the laws that forbade humans from their world. She glanced at Alex, who looked up at her with a calm determination that surprised her. "They're coming," she whispered. Alex nodded. "Then we adapt." Liara felt a surge of admiration. Humans never froze in fear. They faced challenges with calculation, creativity, and courage. She moved quickly, using the crystals and terrain to hide their position. Alex assisted her, using a small device to temporarily confuse the patrol drone's sensors. Together, they managed to slip unseen into the deeper forest. As they moved, Liara spoke quietly. "The council will not approve of your presence. They may try to force me to hand you over." Alex frowned. "And if they do, I will not," she said firmly. "No matter the cost, you have shown strength where others would fail. That is rare here." Alex blinked, clearly surprised by the declaration. "You mean you'll protect me?" Liara nodded. "Yes. And I will not allow anyone to underestimate you, not even my own council." The human considered her words, then smiled faintly. "Then I guess we'll make a good team." They continued deeper into the forest, reaching a secluded glade where a small freshwater pool shimmered under the sunlight. Liara allowed Alex to rest while she gathered food and resources from the surroundings. She was careful to select only the safest fruits and plants, explaining each one to him as they prepared a simple meal together. "This is amazing," Alex said, tasting a sweet, glowing fruit. "I never imagined a place like this." Liara smiled. "There is much in the universe that you cannot imagine. That is why you must always observe, learn, and adapt. You humans, you survive because you do these things naturally." Alex laughed softly. "Guess we've had a lot of practice." For a moment they shared silence, watching the light dance across the water. Liara thought about the council, about the strict rules and centuries of prejudice against humans. Yet she also thought about this one human before her, brave and resourceful, full of curiosity and quiet wisdom. Could it be that humans were not weak, after all? Could it be that the lessons of one species might inspire an entire civilization to see differently? Her thoughts were interrupted by the distant sound of movement. Liara's ears twitched. She had learned to read the slightest shifts in the environment. The sound was subtle but deliberate. Someone was following them. "Hide," she whispered, guiding Alex behind a large crystal outcrop. They crouched low, listening. A patrol drone hovered into view, scanning the area with mechanical precision. Its sensors glowed faintly, sweeping over the forest. Liara's hand tightened slightly on Alex's arm. "Do not move," she whispered. Alex nodded, calm and alert. He watched the drone, noting its patterns. "I think I can help," he said quietly. He pulled a small device from his pack, a mix of human technology and makeshift adjustments from their previous work. With careful precision, he activated it, sending out a faint pulse that caused the drone to misread the terrain. Its sensors flickered, and it drifted away, convinced that the area was empty. Liara exhaled slowly, her admiration for him growing. Humans could think quickly under pressure, improvise, and remain calm even in danger. It was a combination of courage and intelligence that was rare in Erendor. "Impressive," she said softly. Alex shrugged. "I do what I have to." Liara smiled, feeling a warmth she had not expected. In protecting him, she was also discovering a part of herself, a willingness to challenge old beliefs, to trust in someone different, to see strength in new forms. For the next few days, they moved carefully through the forest, repairing parts of the ship while avoiding patrols. Alex taught Liara some basic engineering techniques, while she shared knowledge about the crystals, the plants, and the delicate balance of Erendor's ecosystem. They began to form a rhythm, a partnership based on respect and mutual admiration. One evening, as the twin moons reflected on the crystal pools, Alex spoke quietly. "You know, most people wouldn't risk this for me. I don't even belong here." Liara shook her head. "You underestimate yourself. Humans survive against impossible odds. You are not ordinary. You have courage, ingenuity, and the ability to inspire." Alex looked at her, genuinely touched. "That's the nicest thing anyone said to me in a long time." Liara smiled. "Then perhaps it is true. Perhaps humans are not what my people believe them to be. Perhaps they are extraordinary." Their peaceful moment was interrupted by the distant hum of the council's patrols, reminding them that their actions would not go unnoticed. Liara felt a pang of resolve. They would not give up. They would protect each other. They would show that strength, courage, and wisdom could come from unexpected places. As night deepened, they prepared to rest, sharing stories of Earth and Erendor, laughing quietly at cultural differences, marveling at similarities, and discovering the growing bond between them. Liara realized that she was no longer just a princess of Erendor. She was a bridge between worlds, learning from a human who had challenged everything she thought she knew. And Alex, despite being far from home, began to feel a strange sense of belonging. He had landed on an alien planet, faced danger, and found an unexpected ally who believed in him. It was a reminder that courage, curiosity, and kindness were universal languages, ones that could forge connections across worlds. Liara looked at him one last time before closing her eyes, thinking, this human may just change everything. And perhaps, so will I. The sky above Urindor was unusually restless that morning, a restless swirl of pale pink and violet clouds, as if the planet itself sensed the change that was coming. Princess Liara stood atop a crystalline ridge, her hair flowing in the wind, eyes scanning the horizon for any signs of patrols. Alex had been awake since dawn, tinkering with the last pieces of his ship while Liara had been assessing the landscape. Both knew their time was limited. The council would not let the presence of a human go unnoticed for long. Liara turned toward him, her expression calm yet determined. Alex, we must be ready. They will send emissaries soon to demand you be handed over. And I will not let that happen. Alex wiped grease from his hands and smiled faintly. I've dealt with worse threats. You just have to trust that humans can adapt. Liara considered that. Humans could adapt. Humans could endure. Humans could survive where others would falter. She had seen it in Alex, but soon she would need more than admiration. She would need action. As if on cue, a tremor ran through the crystal ridge. Liara froze, sensing the vibrations through the soles of her boots. The trees and crystal spires seemed to quiver as though alive and frightened. Alex stopped what he was doing, looking up at the sky. What's happening? He asked. Liara's eyes narrowed. A crystal storm. It is rare but not impossible. It can be destructive if it reaches the capital. We need to move. Without hesitation, they descended through the crystalline forest, moving as quickly and silently as possible. Liara's knowledge of the terrain allowed them to avoid unstable areas, and Alex's ingenuity helped navigate around obstacles that would have slowed anyone else. He rigged small stabilizers to prevent minor crystal collapses, showing an understanding of physics that impressed Liara. Even in danger, humans found ways to contribute. As they neared a sheltered valley, Liara paused, sensing something in the hum of the crystals. Her sharp ears picked up the faint whirring of patrol drones in the distance. They know, she whispered. The council suspects you are here. We cannot stay hidden for long. Alex looked around, considering their options. Then we lead them away. Create a diversion, draw them off the path to the capital. That will buy time. Liara's lips pressed together. His plan was risky, but it made sense. Humans had a way of thinking beyond immediate fear, seeing possibilities that others overlooked. She nodded. Very well. Let's do it. Together, they moved to a narrow canyon lined with tall crystal formations. Alex began setting up a series of reflective prisms and energy pulses, using the crystal vibrations to confuse the patrol drones. Liara guided him, whispering directions based on her intimate knowledge of the terrain. When the drones arrived, they were misled by the pulses and reflections, chasing phantom signals far from the real path. Once the drones were safely diverted, Liara and Alex pressed on, knowing their real challenge had only just begun. The crystal storm was approaching fast. Gusts of wind carried shards of sharp crystal, and the resonance of the storm made the forest seem alive, shifting, and dangerous. They had to reach the heart of the storm before it reached the capital, or the floating city could suffer catastrophic damage. As they climbed a ridge overlooking the valley, Alex paused, pointing to the storm's center. We can stabilize it, he said. If we redirect the energy, guide it through the lower canyons, the city will be safe. Liara's eyes widened. It is extremely dangerous. If you miscalculate, I won't, Alex said firmly. Trust me. For a moment, Liara hesitated. She could see the fear in his eyes, not fear of death, but of failing. And yet she also saw the determination, the human quality that refused to give up, that sought solutions even in impossible situations. She took a deep breath. Very well, let's do it together. They moved into the heart of the storm, the wind whipping around them, carrying shards of crystal that glimmered like knives. Alex worked quickly, assembling temporary energy conductors to guide the storm, while Liara used her knowledge of crystal resonance to amplify the redirection. Together, they formed a plan that was part human ingenuity, part Urandorian wisdom. The storm raged around them, howling like a living beast, yet they pressed on. Alex adjusted his devices with precision, calculating angles and frequencies. Liara tuned the crystals, her hands steady despite the chaos. Hours passed, though time felt stretched by the intensity of the task. They communicated without words, a rhythm formed from trust and focus. Finally, with a sharp, final adjustment, Alex activated the main pulse. The storm shifted, guided into a lower canyon far from the capital. The energy hummed through the crystals, dissipating into the ground safely. Liara and Alex fell to the ground, exhausted but exhilarated. The city above remained unharmed, floating gracefully amidst the now calm sky. Liara turned to Alex, a mixture of amazement and relief on her face. You did it." Alex wiped sweat from his brow, grinning despite fatigue. "We did it together." The moment of triumph was brief, however, as the distant hum of council patrols reminded them that their presence was still illegal, still dangerous. Liara's resolve hardened. They could not hide forever. The council would confront her soon, and she would have to face them, standing for what she knew was right. That evening, they returned to a safer part of the forest, both exhausted but filled with quiet satisfaction. Alex repaired minor damage to his equipment, while Liara tended to small injuries and prepared food. As they sat by the reflective pool, the twin moons casting gentle light, Alex spoke quietly. "You really trust me," he said. Liara shook her head. "I do not trust lightly, but I see your strength, your courage, your ingenuity. These are qualities that Urandor has rarely encountered. I would be foolish not to recognize them." Alex smiled faintly. "That means a lot. On Earth, I've never had someone see me like that, appreciate what humans can do." Liara looked down, thoughtful. "Perhaps that is why humans can inspire change. You do not give up even when the odds are against you. You adapt. You endure. That is extraordinary." Alex chuckled softly. "I just do what I have to. I guess I'm lucky to have someone like you helping me." Liara met his eyes, feeling a warmth she had not expected. In protecting him, she was discovering parts of herself she had never known. The courage to defy tradition, the willingness to challenge her world, the belief that strength could come from unexpected places. For several days, they continued to work together, blending Urandorian knowledge with human problem-solving. Alex improved the ship using crystal-based energy sources, while Liara coordinated their movements to avoid council patrols. Every success strengthened their bond and reinforced Liara's conviction that humans were capable of more than her people realized. One evening, while resting near the pool, Liara spoke. "The council will not approve of your presence. They may demand that I hand you over, and I may have to face consequences." Alex nodded, understanding the weight of her words. "Then we make them understand. We show them what humans can do, why it matters." Liara's eyes sparkled. "Yes, together we can do that. We can prove that courage, intelligence, and determination are not bound to one species alone." The following day, as the twin moons rose again, a distant figure appeared on the ridge, an emissary from the council, observing their movements. Liara's heart tightened, but she did not waver. She approached the human, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Stay calm," she whispered. "We will face this as we have faced everything else." Alex nodded, adjusting his equipment. "I trust you. Let's do it." The emissary descended, cautious but determined. Liara stepped forward, standing tall despite the tension. "I am Princess Liara," she announced, her voice carrying across the forest. "This human is under my protection. He is not a threat. He is capable, intelligent, and resourceful. If you doubt it, I suggest you witness what we have accomplished." The emissary paused, clearly surprised by her confidence. Liara guided him toward the lower valley. showing the stabilized storm, the redirected energy channels, and the ingenuity that had saved the city above. Alex explained, with humility and clarity, how he had adapted his knowledge to work with the crystals, how humans could contribute to Erendor in ways previously unimagined. The emissary's expression softened. This was not the fragile human they had been warned about. This was someone who had faced impossible odds, endured, and succeeded. Liara's words rang true. Courage, determination, and intelligence were not limited by species. By nightfall, the emissary departed, carrying the message back to the council. Liara and Alex sat in silence by the pool, exhaustion giving way to quiet triumph. Liara realized that their actions had done more than protect a human. They had begun to challenge the beliefs of her entire world. Alex looked at her with a small smile. "Looks like we made a difference." Liara returned the smile, feeling a sense of purpose she had never known. "Yes, and we have only begun." As the twin moons reflected on the pool, she thought about the days ahead, the challenges yet to come, and the bond they had formed. She knew the council's questions were not over, but she also knew that together they could face whatever came next. And in that quiet moment, Liara understood something profound. Humans were not fragile. They were resilient, courageous, adaptable. And perhaps, in their determination, they could teach an entire world how to see strength in unexpected places. The twin moons of Erendor rose over the crystal forests, casting long, silver reflections across the floating ridges. Princess Liara stood at the edge of her palace balcony, her eyes scanning the horizon. The council had sent another emissary, more insistent this time, demanding answers about the human she had protected. She knew the confrontation was inevitable, but she did not feel fear. She felt determination. Beside her, Alex adjusted the small energy stabilizers he had repaired on the balcony. Though far from home, he had learned to adapt quickly, blending his human ingenuity with Erendor's advanced technology. Liara glanced at him, noting the calm focus in his eyes. She had learned much from him: patience, creativity, and the kind of courage that did not rely on brute force, but on intelligence and integrity. "We have to face them," she said softly. "Soon the council will come. They will demand that you leave, or worse, that I hand you over." Alex nodded. "Then we face them together. We've managed worse already." Liara smiled faintly. The bond they had formed over the past days had grown stronger than she could have imagined. He was more than a guest or a survivor. He was a partner, a symbol of the strength she had long suspected humans possessed. As the council's emissaries approached the palace, Liara descended to the grand hall. The crystal walls reflected the moonlight, making the space glow with soft, ethereal colors. The emissaries, clad in formal robes and with their expressions carefully composed, bowed formally but with a hint of suspicion in their eyes. "Princess Liara," the chief emissary began, voice cool and measured, "you have repeatedly defied our laws by harboring a human. Explain yourself." Liara met his gaze steadily. "I will explain. This human, Captain Alex Kane, is no threat. He is intelligent, courageous, and resourceful. He has adapted to our world in ways that many of our people cannot. He has helped me, and through his ingenuity, we have prevented disasters that could have harmed our capital and our citizens." The emissaries exchanged glances, unconvinced. "Our laws exist for a reason. Humans are fragile, unpredictable. You have endangered your position, your people, and your world." Liara lifted her chin. "I have not endangered Erendor. I have saved it. Captain Kane has shown qualities that are rare in any species: adaptability, resilience, and courage. To underestimate him is to underestimate the potential of an entire civilization. I am willing to face the consequences of my choices, but I will not hand him over." The council remained silent, weighing her words. Liara's heart raced, but she did not waver. She had witnessed Alex's abilities firsthand. Humans were not weak, they were capable, determined, and innovative, and now she would prove it. She turned to Alex. "Show them." Alex stepped forward, humility in his posture but confidence in his actions. "I will not boast," he began, "but in the last few days we have stabilized a crystal storm that could have destroyed the capital. We have repaired technology using materials native to this planet, blending human knowledge with Urandorian science. I am not invincible, and I am far from perfect, but I have adapted, solved problems, and contributed to your civilization's safety. I believe humans, when given trust and opportunity, can be allies rather than burdens." The council listened, their expressions a mixture of curiosity and skepticism. Liara could sense the shift. Their rigid minds were beginning to consider possibilities they had never entertained. One emissary stepped forward, hesitating. "And you claim this is proof that humans can be trusted?" Alex nodded. "I claim that humans are capable. That courage, intelligence, and problem-solving are not limited to one species. If you doubt it, look at the results of our actions. The city stands safe. Lives have been preserved. The risk was real, yet we succeeded." Liara watched him closely. His words were clear, honest, and undeniable. She realized that humans had a strength that transcended physical fragility, the strength of spirit, mind, and determination. The chief emissary spoke again, voice softer this time. "We have seen the outcome. Yet it is unusual for a human to possess such capabilities. Why should we accept this as proof for all?" Liara stepped forward. "Because humans have the ability to learn, adapt, and endure. Alex has shown these traits, and I believe they represent more than one individual. To ignore this potential is to close our eyes to the lessons the universe is offering us. We must judge by actions, not assumptions, by courage, not fear." The emissaries conferred quietly among themselves. Murmurs of debate filled the grand hall. Finally, the chief emissary turned to Liara. "Your words and the results of your actions are compelling. It seems we have underestimated the potential of humans. Perhaps your judgment is justified." Liara allowed herself a small smile. "It is more than judgment. It is recognition of capability, courage, and intelligence, qualities that exist in all who choose to rise to the challenge." The council members bowed slightly, signaling a tentative acceptance. The message was clear. Humans would no longer be dismissed as fragile or insignificant. Liara had challenged centuries of belief, and through her courage and trust, had begun to reshape her civilization's understanding. Later, as the council departed, Liara and Alex walked through the palace gardens, the floating crystals glowing softly in the night. The air was still, filled with the hum of the planet's energy. "You did it," Alex said quietly. "They listened. They actually listened." Liara smiled. "We did it together. You have shown my people that humans are more than they assumed. You have changed my world, Alex." He looked at her, humbled. "I didn't come here to change a world. I came to survive, but I'm glad I could help." Liara paused, considering his words. Sometimes, survival is the beginning of something greater. Sometimes, courage and trust create change that neither party expects. You've reminded me of that. Over the next few weeks, Liara worked to introduce Alex's ideas and innovations to her people. He demonstrated human engineering methods, shared problem-solving techniques, and helped stabilize other regions affected by the storm. Citizens began to see him not as a stranger but as a capable, reliable ally. Children listened in awe to his explanations of Earth, mechanics, and resilience. Scholars debated his techniques, finding merit in his logic and adaptability. Slowly, hearts and minds began to open. One evening, as they watched the twin moons reflect on a crystal lake, Liara spoke softly. "You've inspired more than me, Alex. You've inspired all of Urandor. People are beginning to question old assumptions, to see strength in unexpected forms." Alex smiled faintly. "I didn't do it alone. You trusted me, guided me, and believed in what I could do. That makes all the difference." Liara reached out, placing her hand over his. Then together we have shown that courage and intelligence know no bounds, not species, not planets, not tradition. Perhaps this is only the beginning, Alex nodded. It is, and I want to help wherever I can. In the weeks that followed, Liara and Alex continued to work, their partnership growing stronger. Erendor began to evolve, its citizens learning from human ingenuity while honoring their own traditions. The palace, once rigid and formal, became a hub of collaboration, where ideas were tested, knowledge was shared, and courage was celebrated. One day, Liara stood on a cliff overlooking the city, Alex at her side. The wind carried the scent of crystal blooms and the floating islands shimmered in the sunlight. "Do you ever think about going home?" she asked. Alex considered it. "Sometimes. But I've found a place here where I can make a difference, and I feel like I belong." Liara smiled. "You do belong, and your presence will continue to inspire my people. Humans are no longer just visitors, they are allies, friends, and teachers." As they stood together, the city below bustling with life and activity, Liara realized that the bond between their worlds was only beginning. Courage, intelligence, and the willingness to trust could bridge galaxies. One human had challenged her entire civilization's assumptions, and in doing so had changed it for the better. The twin moons reflected in their eyes, and Liara felt a profound sense of hope. This was more than survival. This was growth, learning, and unity across worlds. She looked at Alex, the human who had arrived as a stranger and become a catalyst for change, and she knew that Erendor's future was brighter than it had ever been. "Thank you," she said softly. Alex shrugged, smiling. "I should be thanking you. You believed in me when no one else would." Liara placed a hand on his shoulder, her eyes shining. "And together, we have shown that courage, intelligence, and determination are universal, not bound by species, planet, or tradition. This is our legacy." And as the night deepened, the hum of the crystals carried their promise across the floating forests, across the valleys, and into the hearts of all who would listen. Courage and wisdom can come from anywhere, and sometimes the smallest spark can light the way for an entire world. Erendor had changed forever, and so had Liara, so had Alex, and so had the bond between their worlds. They stood together, looking at the horizon, ready to face whatever the future would bring, knowing that strength is measured not by where you come from, but by what you do and how you choose to rise. The alien princess protected a human and challenged her entire world.